One thing that you'll definitely want to install on your website is Google Analytics. Google Analytics tracks all kinds of information about the people who are visiting your website. It also tracks what they clicked in AdWords as well as other advertising channels if you link them up correctly, and it gives you a very detailed look at who is using your website in terms of broad information like geographic areas where they live, mobile devices versus computers, lots of information about the way they access your website, the way they interact with your website, how long they spend, how often they bounce, how engaged they are, whether or not they are filling out forms. It tracks order revenue if you set it up properly. It tracks all kinds of stuff, and it's free to you, which is pretty amazing, and it's really easy to set up. So I definitely recommend that anybody using Google AdWords also uses Google Analytics and connects Analytics with AdWords, and I'll show you how to do that. First of all, let's go ahead and create our Google Analytics account. I'm going to use the same Google account as we're using for Google AdWords and Gmail and Google Tag Manager. So let's go ahead and hit sign up here. Alright, so they have an option to track either your website or your mobile app. Most small businesses don't have a mobile app, so we'll ignore that for now and stick with the website. Name your account something that makes sense. I'm just going to call it Example Company for now. And then name your website. Just going to call it Example Website. And then put your website URL in there. So for example, www.example.com. You can select your industry category if you fit into one of these predetermined categories, and the advantage to that is that Google will then give you some benchmarking data, so you can have a sense of how your website data compares with other websites in your vertical. I'm just going to select Other in this case. And then you can set your reporting time zone. Now, unlike AdWords, you will be able to change your reporting time zone in the future if you need to. And I recommend that you set it to whatever your AdWords reporting time zone is, because otherwise you'll see just odd things in the data because they're tracking things a little bit differently from a time standpoint, and it may confuse you. So I'm going to go ahead and select Central Time here. All of these default options are fine. If you want to uncheck them, that's also fine, but I don't see any reason to not offer these things to Google and get their support if required. So let's go ahead and get a tracking ID, and we'll accept those terms there. And all right, here we go. We are into our account. So this here is your tracking ID. This is unique to your AdWords account, and you'll need this later on. And when you go to install your code on your website, if you use something like Google Tag Manager or a plugin on WordPress or somewhere else, and you can see Google's actually recommending that if you use WordPress or GoDaddy or Wix, there's some instructions that you can follow to set up your Google Analytics tracking. Side note, Wix is a very challenging platform to use with any kind of advertising because of some unique ways that they construct their pages. And it's very hard to track any PPC traffic to Wix. It's very hard to track conversions. It's impossible in some areas to correctly track data on Wix. So I am not a fan of Wix. And if you have a Wix website, you have my sympathy. I recommend that you go with somebody else who is more conducive to tracking and sending traffic from advertising channels. This here is your tracking code, which you could install on your website. This stuff here, you don't need to really worry about that. Let's go ahead and close this and go back here. So this is your admin area. You can do lots of different stuff from here, and I would say take some time to just look around and get a sense for what your new account looks like. I'm going to also show you how to install the analytics code using Google Tag Manager. So we're going to go over here to Google Tag Manager, we're going to go to Tags, and we're going to create a new tag. And you can see Google Analytics is already an option that Google has put in here, so we'll click on that. If you're creating a new Google Analytics account, it's going to be a Universal Analytics account. If you have a very, very old Google Analytics account, it might be Classic Google Analytics, but there aren't a lot of those left because Universal has been out for a couple years now. So you're probably going to be fine to just select Universal Analytics. And then it's going to ask you for the tracking ID, which we just saw, and you can get to that again by going to your property settings over here on your admin tab, and that's your tracking ID right there. And we'll copy that, take it over here, paste it in there. This option here, enable display advertising features, if we check that, which we will, it lets you get some additional, more granular information about the demographics of people who are visiting your website. You will need to update your privacy policy, though, if you use this option, so just keep that in mind. Track type of page view, that's the default option, that's fine. We don't need any of these more settings for most implementations, so we'll just leave that collapsed. Same thing for advanced settings. We don't need that for implementing this code, so we'll go ahead and hit continue. We want your analytics code to fire on all pages on your website, so we select the all pages option and then create tag, and we will call it something you'll remember is call it Google Analytics all pages. Save, and you can see it shows up now in your list of tags. You can also see up here it says unpublished changes 1. That's the change we just made, and you could preview it, which means once you click this button here, you could go to your website, just type in your website domain, and it would show you on your website whether or not it's going to fire correctly. And then we could hit publish. And once we hit publish, go ahead and publish now. It's actually theoretically live. Now, we haven't actually put the Google Tag Manager container code on your website, so this code doesn't exist anywhere yet. But if the code were on your website, then this code we just added would be working right now, which is pretty amazing when you consider how easy that was. So let's go back to Google Analytics, and I'm going to show you how to link Google Analytics with Google AdWords. Right here, super easy, it says AdWords linking. This is under the property column in the admin tab. So we'll click on AdWords linking, and because we've already signed in using the same Google account as we have with our AdWords account, it's already recognizing our AdWords customer ID right there. You can see that number is the same as that number right up there in the top right of the AdWords account. So we'll hit continue, and then we'll just call it example company. Doesn't matter what you call the link group title. And then let's select all views. There's only one at Google Analytics view right now. It's called all website data, so we've turned that on. And I don't know if you remember back when we talked about the settings of the AdWords account and took a tour of the AdWords account, we mentioned auto tagging. And this right now, when we click link accounts, it will automatically turn auto tagging on. And basically what auto tagging does is it appends a unique Google Click ID, which is a string of numbers and letters, to the URL every time someone clicks on an ad and reaches your website. And Google Analytics reads that unique ID from the URL, and that's where they get information about the keyword, the campaign, the ad, etc. that led to that click. So it's a good thing. So we turn link accounts on, and boom, there we go. Click done here, and AdWords and Analytics is linked. Now there's one other thing that we can do. We can import a couple analytics metrics into AdWords itself. So to do that, we can go to AdWords, and we can go to over here under the gear, go to linked accounts, and let's let this load here. There we go. And right here we have Google Analytics. Hit view details, and because we've already linked it, it sees that it's linked, so I'll click edit, and I'll change this to import site metrics and save. And then in the future, if you want to add, there's a couple metrics you can add to your AdWords reports, including bounce rate and number of pages per visit, I believe it is, a couple other options, which can be helpful to view within the AdWords interface. Now on the analytics side, let's go to the reporting tab. This is where you'll see all sorts of amazing data about your visitors. And honestly, this is an incredibly robust tool. I'm certified in Google Analytics, and I use it on a daily basis for the clients that I work with, and my team uses it all the time as well. And I don't even use probably half of the options in here, maybe less, but there are just so many options. So this is such a amazing tool that you'll find pretty much everything you need to know about analytics on your audience by using Google Analytics. I love it. To learn about your AdWords traffic specifically, you can go to Acquisition over here on the left. Go to AdWords. It's got its own section. Go to Campaigns. And once we start running campaigns, it will show campaign names here. It'll show how much you're paying for the campaigns, your cost per click. Then it'll show you how many sessions and what your bounce rate is, how many pages per session or people are spending on your site, what your conversion rate is per campaign, so on and so forth. So Google Analytics is a really great tool. If you want to add goals, which is the analytics term for conversions, you can go to the Admin tab, go over here under the View column, go to Goals, and then you can hit the red New Goal button, and it'll walk you through how to create different kinds of goals. And you can create goals based upon thank you pages, based upon how long someone spends in your site, based upon them clicking specific things. There are a lot of options. So in summary, I strongly recommend that you use analytics and take some time to familiarize yourself with it. I know it's overwhelming at first because there are so many options, and that's one of the great things about working with an agency that we can help our clients with, is that we understand these tools because we spend so much time with them, so we can help them figure out a lot about their audience using these tools. But definitely go ahead and use this tool if you're at all able to. And that's it.